So the next person joining me in the Like to Be hot seat is someone from the civil services sector. So Karam is a communications officer at the Land Registry. And basically in this session, we're going to be talking all about careers in the civil service and what this sector has to offer. So, hey Karam, how are you?
Hey Charlotte, nice to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I am loving your shirt.
Oh, top.
So
Well,
vibrant.
I thought I had to find something, to put on and make myself look as funky as possible. It's all about challenging the stereotypes of what a civil servant is and looks like. So, thought I'd best dress for the occasion. Hey.
Yeah, you really put me to shame. I am not dressed for the occasion. I feel
You look great
bad.
as you are. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. So, just for everybody that's tuning into this session, can you explain what is the civil service?
So, the civil service is comprised of 46 different departments that work in the public sector.
Mhm.
We operate to help deliver policies that are implemented by government. Some of the civil service includes things like the Cabinet Office, the Department of Education, Department of Transport, the Department of Work and Pensions, the Ministry
Okay.
for Housing, Communities and Local Government, even MI5. Essentially,
Whoa.
I know, we're all essentially part of, we're all departments which deliver public services to support the government in implementing its policies and with the day-to-day workings of government, I suppose. We'll
Okay,
consider a
yeah,
civil servant like a smaller cog in the bigger wheel.
that's great. Okay, so very varied. So, what specifically does the Land Registry do?
So the day-to-day of land registration is essentially creating a reliable record of about the ownership of land. So anybody that buys or sells a property or a piece of land or takes out a mortgage must send us an application to register that interest. We therefore, from that, update our records, and
Okay.
all of the data that we have provides security on property ownership for everything across England and Wales.
So, very important job.
It certainly is. I think without the land registry, we could certainly find ourselves in a position where your property rights couldn't be guaranteed.
Yeah.
But the land registration is so much more than that. So we have our operational roles in processing of casework, we call it,
Okay.
which is any cases to do with a new mortgage, to register that in our register, or with a
Mhm.
new lease or a transfer of
Mhm.
an application, or indeed registering of a new piece of land. But from that, we also have our digital data and technology specialists who design and update our IT systems and services. We have people like our human resources department who deal with recruitment, promotion, and areas of guidance. And there are so many other things from legal to finance and indeed communications.
Amazing. So, so many different teams, so many different things going on, really varied.
Sure.
So, what are the benefits of working in the civil service? Is it different from a normal job? I mean, I'm saying normal job, but obviously this is the public sector. Is it different?
I'd say there are a great many things to working in public services. I think the first thing, and I think the most important thing for me is the ability to deliver on really key critical things to the functioning of society and feeling as though you're really meaningful in what you do and giving back, whether that be working in policies to help support underrepresented groups,
Yeah,
whether that be working in the Department of Health and Social Care and for things like COVID-19,
yeah.
briefing ministers on, the best practice and what's happening at the moment.
Mhm.
For things like Department of Transport and Education, they are indeed our schools and,
Yeah,
the transport networks in the UK. So I think one of the greatest benefits of working within the civil service is an ability to give back and really
yeah,
contribute to the working of your country. But I think
yeah.
there's so much more than that because within the civil service there is a competitive salary and something you probably don't need to worry about yet, but a good pension scheme in which 20% is I know, but
Always
it's a
looking
perk.
for attention.
Yeah, we've got 28 and a half days of annual leave every year with 8 public holidays on top of that.
That's
There's
good.
also the opportunity for paid volunteering leave. I've used that in the past to volunteer for habitat conservation and kind of
Oh,
things involved in sustainability, which is fantastic. I think one great opportunity is the flexible working scheme that we have. So for those of you who might be earlier risers or later risers, providing you can manage your time in a good way, we're happy to work hours that are obviously around the business and we're around the core hours of the business, but it does give us those increased degrees of freedom. I think particularly for those with childcare responsibilities, or
mm.
some of you may like to get up a bit later, but it helps cater for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's nice. Feel like having flexibility in your job kind of, I don't know, in roles where I've had more flexibility, I've almost had like more of a desire to work harder, because I feel like the company or the organization is also thinking about me, that, you know, giving me the chance to take that ownership over my working day. And, you know, sometimes you do just wake up at 9 a.m. and think, oh, wow, okay, yeah. No, I'm not disclosing that I wake up at 9 a.m. But, you know, sometimes you wake up and you think, oh, gosh, you know, wish I could put work back an hour. So it's great having that flexibility.
I think it's really good. I think it shows, particularly in public sector, that we have a very trust-based system, and particularly as civil servants, we're upheld to a code of conduct. You know, we always provide assurance. We act with integrity. And, you know, we speak truth to power,
Mm,
essentially. So I think it's really great. I think gone are the days where, particularly in the civil service, where it's not how do you change to fit your employer.
yeah.
There is an element of that, but it's also what can your employer do for you,
Mm,
and that's to level access and, you know, to make your working life as good for you, so for your
yeah.
health and well-being, for a range of, like you say, it empowers you to be able to kind of take control of
Yeah.
your delivery and playing your part in it, which is great.
Yeah, you seem to really love your job. Like, you know, you seem very passionate about it. What would you say is the best thing about what you do?
Wow, the best thing, that's a hard one
Sorry,
to say. I'd
just
say
huge question.
well, I think for me, like, I've always liked writing. I think I've always wanted an ability where I can give something back and have a
Mm,
platform in which to influence. And I think, you know, with my work in communications, particularly with stuff involving ethnic minorities, I've been able to roll out a series of webinars in my own department called Let's Talk About Race, where we can actually understand the relative
wonderful.
truth. And yeah, it's great. I mean, I can provide proactive steps for people to tackle institutionalized and in-person racism, but also
Yeah,
to understand it's not about demonizing anybody.
yeah,
And that, you know, being able to work in projects such as this, you know, outreach, to be able to connect with you guys,
yeah,
and you know, develop those pipelines where we can find diverse talent of the best caliber in every
yeah,
background. And, you know,
yeah,
for me, that's a privilege, because I guess in a sense, you know, you always, for me, I want to become the person I wished I had available when I was 15 or 16, to be that kind
yeah,
of role model, to point you in the
yeah,
right place and
yeah.
foster that talent. So I mean, that's fantastic. And I think being able to write and kind of work on some high profile projects is always a great benefit.
That's so great to hear, because what I'm hearing from the younger generation at the moment is that a lot of them want to have an impact. And I feel like everything that you've just said, working in the civil services, that you truly have an opportunity to make a positive impact in society every day. And usually maybe people think that you have to go into an environmental, you know, side to make a real positive impact. There's a lot of, you know, social issues, and also, you know, just day to day running of
Mhm.
like trying to keep society and the cogs turning. Does a really important job so that there isn't anarchy everywhere.
I think that's the great thing about the civil service, you know, from policy development through to working in communications, through to being able to work in analytics or finance, or there really is something for everybody. So and like, yeah, to be able to contribute to every different part of society, not
Yeah.
just the everyday running of it, but also if you want to look at these kind of more high profile things for,
Mm.
you know, equal access to opportunities and equal rights, through to, you know, helping promote environmental sustainability, I think there really is an
Yeah.
opportunity for everybody.
No, and that was going to be my next question. What, you know, career routes are there in the civil service? So, you know, you do very specific things at the land registry, but, you know, as you've described, there seems to be so many different vocations in the civil service sector that really there's a lot for everyone. But I think the core message here is that this is a job that you can make quite a big impact with, which is just beautiful, I think.
I think so, yeah. When it comes to kind of ways in, I'd say something that I missed to say earlier really was one of the perks of the civil service is once you're in, and you can move departments.
Okay.
And so, you know, there are many, a great colleague I know that have, you know, worked from the Ministry of Housing through to, and there's so many different
Mm,
things. And so you're really able to kind of find a role that suits you and find other ways that you might be, you know, interested in giving back,
yep.
which is a great thing. So, but first way would be direct entry. And that's where you could apply just straight up. You look on either the civil service jobs or civil service careers website,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find something in which you put an application through, are invited for interview,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you have to do a candidate statement and stuff. And that way you can find you're in at a lower grade and work up. That's what I did. And I found
Okay.
that really, I can probably go into all of that a bit later, but I
Yeah.
found it's quite interesting to work your way from the bottom up, because I think you can kind of learn how it's done as you go through, and kind of learn from other people, you know, men and women greater than me with great experience that you learn to kind of pick things from and learn more about yourself. And at the same time, you see how, like, what best practice is, what worst practice is, and how to kind of elevate through that. But so that would be one entry. There is also something called the Civil Service Fast Stream, which
Fast stream, I
is
like that.
Fast
Jazzy
Stream.
name.
Fast pass, yeah, yeah. It's
Well, that,
looking.
I don't know.
A dab could work, I suppose. The civil, I mean, I don't know if the dab scheme would have the same ring to it, but but yeah, the
Sorry.
fast stream's all kind of about graduate entry. So should you decide that you want to go to university, there are a whole range of different fast stream routes through from being a generalist, we call it, where you move through different departments to kind of be a general civil servant. And there's also analytical routes or economics routes, depending on your chosen specialty and what you can look for. There are also things like the Summer Diversity Internship Program, which runs for, again, I believe that's for graduates, in which they want to learn a bit more about the civil service. So there are not only that, but other internships in which you can apply for, and also apprenticeship schemes. So you could go from
Lots to
direct entry.
offer.
There
Loads.
are lots of different ways, and I really would recommend the Civil Service Careers website, as it
Okay.
gives a really clear image of kind of the different entry routes and some of the opportunities available and the ways that, you know, you can be developed in becoming a leader of tomorrow.
No, that's great. And it's good that you've got a hub for that, because there seems like there's so much information. And I guess one question is, do you have to go to university to work, you know, in the civil service sector, or like you say, are there different pathways where you don't have to go to uni?
I'd say it's horses for courses, so to speak. You know, should you want to go to university and apply for that role, sure. And I think there are some roles that would require a degree if it was very subject specific.
Yep.
But you can find, I mean, you can find your way in through a direct entry or through apprenticeship schemes and work your way through different departments and find your way to, you know, becoming a deputy director or a director, depending on the skills that you've learned through there. And I think, you know, that's kind of what's, you know, I mean, I'm not that level yet by any means, but that's the aim. But yeah, it's subject specific, but by and large, if the role doesn't require a degree specific, then you probably need 5 A stars, 5 GCSEs A star to C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, that's great. That's good, because, you know, not everyone wants to go to university. And so it's nice to find jobs that people can go into, or avenues that people can take to get into different, you know, sectors without having to necessarily go and do that. So my next question to you about staff networks. So do you have staff networks at work, and are you part of any?
We do indeed. So I think one of the great things about the civil service is the culture that we have. Particularly, so I mean, I'm relatively young myself, and it's about finding the leader in everybody. And so some of the networks I've been involved in, Land Registry's Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Network. I took on an opportunity to run a Black History Month campaign. It was called Celebrating Our People, and there was a big poster of me going around like that, and amongst other civil servants of ethnic minority backgrounds. And it was a kind of challenge what the stereotype of what a civil servant looks like, with some inspirational quotes and kind of some of their successes despite setbacks, but also a series of blogs and vlogs and interactive quizzes and a Black History timeline in the UK. And what, you know, working with a contact in communications allowed me to kind of learn a bit more about organizational priorities, how that fits into the business strategy, and how I can make a communications campaign with impact and substance and some level of behavior change for the better. And it was working in things like those staff networks that have given me the development opportunities to get to the role I'm in today, in a sense. But so there's not only that, but I'm kind of here today also in my capacity as the Civil Service Race Forum External Outreach Lead. So the Civil Service Race Forum works in conjunction with 2 other big networks in the civil service, which would be grade 6 and 7 Race to the Top, which typically supports senior civil servants into getting to kind of deputy director and director levels. There is the BAME Fast Stream Network, which supports ethnic minority talent, which are in the fast stream. And then there's us, the Race Forum. We support everybody from apprentice level through to what we call SEO, which is a senior executive, just before that next category. So in my role as external outreach, I've got the opportunity to firstly connect with other government departments and if they aren't part of CISREF, to bring them into the fold and share best practice.
Yeah.
Also, the opportunity to network with other third-party providers and other
Mhm.
companies that are into ethnic minority recruitment, or charity groups, or local government, or community groups, in order to share best practice. And if we as CISREF can't provide a service to support our ethnic minority talent, then we know other individuals that can.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, it's kind of how I'm here today, in kind of creating an outreach program to
Yeah.
engage, young people, and to engage people in demystifying essentially what the civil service is,
Mm.
and kind of finding the best talent, the most diverse talent from a range of different backgrounds. And I know that we're the race forum, but I
Mhm.
think I want to make clear that I like to put this on a social mobility scale of aspiration, because I
Yeah.
think it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you look like. It's the content of your, oh, I got my heart and head the wrong way around then, but it's who you are. And I think that's what the great thing about the civil service and having these different staff networks, it's one of those two, it's all up there, right? But it's the ability to capitalize on your potential. And
Yeah.
I think that's the great thing, because with these through my work in the BAME network and some of the diversity elements that I did, I was then able to apply for the race forum, which was another opportunity
Yeah.
where senior leaders are putting some faith in me to develop
Yeah.
myself. And
Yeah.
you can find something you're interested in, and but CISREF, I mean, we have a policy work stream where it's very evidence based, and we, for instance, the Public Health England report on COVID-19 as to how that was affecting ethnic minority communities, we were able to look through that and put some recommendations to Cabinet Office in how we can improve the overall running
I
of,
love
of the
that. I
country.
love that.
And
It's so
this is
good.
the kind of work you get to be involved in. And like I say, it's not
Game
just for ethnic
changing.
minorities, it's for
Absolutely
everything.
game changing.
It's mad. We were able to support other networks in across the civil service, and indeed in places like the NHS trusts and other private companies, to develop their own
Yeah.
ethnic minority networks and talent streams. We're able to support our own staff that are already within the civil service in terms of mentoring and coaching and developing their strengths and skills to really push out for those next barriers, and creating inspiring discussions and a series of events. Through Black History Month, we even had a spoken word poetry event from civil servants to kind of
Wow.
around those themes. And for me that was amazing, because I really like rap music, from Dave to Skepta to not even sure if I should say that really, but I really like rap music, and to be able to listen to some poetry and songs that other civil servants had done to point out some of the issues in society and how we can get around it and celebrate our culture. I think that's the best thing about these staff networks that I've been involved in. It's that whatever your background, whether you have a disability, whether you are overlooked for certain things as a woman, whether you are an ethnic minority and have faced extra challenges, even if you're a straight white man and have faced challenges, it's what we can all do to release our capacity that we
Yeah.
have. And
Yeah.
for me, yeah, I digress now. I suppose I'm going
No,
on a
it's fine.
powerful
You're so passionate, and I love it. And you know what? It is so positive to hear about, sectors working to, increase their inclusivity. We need a diverse workforce. We need people from all backgrounds, voices from all corners, and it's important that employers are working on this. We've got work to do, and it's really important that work is being done. And so it's so inspiring to meet somebody that you're making waves, and that is so awesome. I feel like I've
Well, I don't. I'm maybe a little splash in a puddle, but
a lovely patter in a puddle.
I think, but that is the great thing about. Well, ripple away, But it is the year of inclusion this year within the civil
Yeah.
service, and our aim is to be the most diverse and inclusive employer. And that doesn't mean we're only hiring talent of different backgrounds, or those from what we call protected characteristics.
Yeah.
We always want to find the best talent available, whoever that is. But to promote diversity means that as the civil service, we can be representative of the communities we serve. For
Yeah.
instance, things affecting young brown men, for instance, maybe something
Mhm.
I'd probably be more familiar with than you, and versus
Yes.
things affecting, a young woman would be something I'm not. Well,
Yeah.
admittedly, I've got a younger sister, so I am quite down with knowing, you know. But I think you can understand. I've never lived with a disability, and so for
No.
me to, I can understand and sympathise and empathise, but I can never truly um, understand it in a way that those individuals could. And to have policymakers or people working in those positions that have that level of expertise means that you're providing added value. And it's not just the qualifications you have, it's just not the things you know, it's the person you are, and how using your experiences you can bring that added value to your teams and to
Mm.
your friends, family, and wider society at large.
Yeah.
And even just to your workplace, if you're not interested in staff networks and taking on additional roles, what you do every day and how you provide to your team, uh, you're valued. Everybody knows there is a value, and everybody has something to offer and bring to the table. Be
That's
under
so
no fear.
inspiring. I love it. It's so inspiring because you're right. Everybody has their strengths, their weaknesses, and they have their own sort of magic to bring to a role. And I think it's really, for this generation that are going through probably one of the biggest and worst sort of, I guess, like global crisis that we will experience maybe in our lifetime in terms of the pandemic. Like, this is unprecedented. That they still aspire or feel, passionate and about, pursuing their dreams. There's a lot of obstacles in the way right now, but people, kids just need to remember that, we've all got a spark and we've all got something to give, and, just go for it. And you're really inspiring. And so, I mean, you've inspired us for the last however many minutes we've been talking, but is there any advice that you would give to youngsters right now, in the wake of COVID, maybe specifically for like looking for careers in the civil service, or just in general for like, looking for their path, to employability?
Definitely. I think I would say don't. Firstly, I know that the world seems like a really mad and scary place at the minute, but that there is hope for a better future within that. So don't be afraid for a first thing. I would say really get to know yourself first, and whether those be like personality tests like Myers-Briggs, or find what brings you alive. Like, what do you like doing that kind of wakes up a fire in you? For me, it's presenting and being able to kind of give off, leverage my privilege to other people, and educate on things that I'm aware of. Like that brings me alive, and I found a platform in which I can do that.
Yeah.
So, but really get to know what makes you tick. Like, what are your passions? What are you interested in? um, I would also say from there that you are your greatest asset.
Mm.
Like it or not, we are going to have to be us for our whole lives. But in spite of that, it's true. But
Yeah.
what can we do to be the best versions of ourselves? And I don't. So what can you do to invest in yourself and be 1% better than you were yesterday, or even 0.5%? And that could be different courses and qualifications you could look at in all sorts of areas. I can post some information about those.
Yeah.
Um, but if that's personal development courses, the things that you read, the things that you learn, because all of the kind of content that you look through now, particularly at the kind of age, your guys' ages, is like
Yeah.
you're going to capitalize on that year on year. Think of it like a return on investment,
Mm.
like compound interest. On top of that, I'd say actively seek out opportunities you enjoy. Now, I know that COVID-19 has meant that there are restrictions on travel and restrictions on ability to meet people, which isn't ideal, I admit.
Mm.
But it does also provide an opportunity for virtual work experiences. If you are interested in becoming a vet, maybe find veterinary ideas and reach out. If you're interested in becoming a civil servant or a communicator or someone,
Mm.
find out who those people are, contact them. Of course, there are safeguarding issues, so please do ask your parents, and make sure you have your permissions, and perhaps go through Like to Be,
Mhm.
if you're interested. But I would say seek opportunities. There's nothing more that I love that somebody would want to learn from
Mm.
me on how to do what I do. Like, sure, like if you're passionate, like how could I not?
Yeah.
um I'd also say that recognize that no matter how bad it is at the time, nothing's ever really the end of the world. I think the only analogy I could use are those that were born in, say, 1908, that had to go through the First World War and then a global recession and the Second World War and then a series of other things.
Mm.
So I think that every generation has had its trial, but
Yeah.
don't think that this is the end for you, or this is over. If anything, you're very much at the beginning of your journey. You're
Yeah.
the youngest you'll ever be, and the oldest you've ever been. So you're kind of in a rush and an in-between stage of wanting to get somewhere. But for me, like I had to learn to be patient and accept, that
Yeah.
I don't know, it takes time. So
It
take
does.
time to build your personal brand,
It
and
does.
use this opportunity. If whatever you can't socialize with your friends and you're stuck indoors, then use this time to develop yourself, and become that best version of you for what's right for you, not for your friends. Well, of course you have to help support your friends and family, don't get me wrong, but do what's right for you,
Yeah.
because in finding a career, it's a long time, and you'll spend more time in a career than you will with your friends, family.
Yep.
if you work full time. So really find something that is going to
It's
allow
a
you to bring
long-term
the most
relationship.
value. It's a long-term relationship, and you have to cultivate it. Like, you can't plant a seed and expect a plant to grow. You've got to tend to it. You've got to water it. You've got to nourish it,
Yeah.
and appreciate that it will take time to cultivate and grow that forest. But
Yeah.
you've got it, the power in you, well, day
Yeah.
by day. And
I honestly believe perseverance is a huge
absolutely,
key to success. We all go through difficulties in life. There are hurdles at, around every corner, and we each have our struggles. But I truly believe if you don't give up, that you will always succeed in what you want to do. That's how I live my life every day, just trying to do the best that I can, and just, being as passionate as I can about something, and just always trying to move forward with it. But Karam, it's been amazing to talk to you. You're so inspiring. I can imagine.
I
I
don't know
really
about
reckon everyone watching this is going to be like, "Whoa!" You've inspired me. I might go and become part of the civil service now.
Well, we're always looking for volunteers and always looking for people that can help. So if you're interested, you know where we are.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thank you
Certainly
very
will do.
much.
Thank you very much, and you know where I am. Please reach out if you'd be interested in getting involved. All the
You heard
best.
it, guys. Reach out. Take care. Bye.
Au revoir. Bye.